Hello and welcome. My name is Alan and we are back with more Diary of Anne Frank. Last episode, Peter and Anne had their first kiss. Things were getting a little, it was really getting serious, let's just say. It wasn't little. But Anne's father, being her father, he's like, look, Peter's a good kid. You're my daughter. I know you're intelligent. But be careful. But with this said, let's go ahead and jump into this here, shall we? Wednesday, May the 3rd, 1944. Dearest Kitty, first, the weekly news. We're having a vacation from politics. There's nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing to report. I'm also gradually starting to believe that the invasion will come. After all, they can't let the Russians do all the dirty work. Actually, the Russians aren't doing anything at the moment either. Mr. Kleiman comes to the office every morning now. He got a new set of springs for Peter's divan, so Peter will have to get to work reupholstering it. Not surprisingly, he isn't at all in the mood. Mr. Kleiman also brought some flea powder for the cats. Have I told you that our Boshi has disappeared? We haven't seen hide nor hair of her since last Thursday. She's probably already in cat heaven, while some animal lover has turned her into a tasty dish. Perhaps some girl who can afford it will be wearing a cap made of Boshi's fur. Peter is heartbroken. For the last 2 weeks, we've been eating lunch at 11:30 on Saturdays. In the mornings, we have to make do with a cup of hot cereal. Starting tomorrow, it'll be like this every day. That saves us a meal. Vegetables are still very hard to come by. This afternoon, we had rotten boiled lettuce, ordinary lettuce, spinach, and boiled lettuce. That's all there is. Add to that rotten potatoes and you have a meal fit for a king. I hadn't had my period for more than 2 months, but it finally started last Sunday. Despite the mess and bother, I'm glad it hasn't deserted me. As you can no doubt imagine, we often say in despair, what's the point of the war? Why, oh why, can't people live together peacefully? Why all this destruction? The question is understandable, but up to now, no one has come up with a satisfactory answer. Why is England manufacturing bigger and better airplanes and bombs and at the same time churning out new houses for reconstruction? Why are millions spent on the war each day while not a penny is available for medical science, artists, or the poor? Why do people have to starve when mountains of food are rotting away in other parts of the world? Oh, why are people so crazy? I don't believe the war is simply the work of politicians and capitalists. Oh no, the common man is every bit as guilty. Otherwise, people and nations would have rebelled long ago. There's a destructive urge in people. The urge to rage, murder, and kill. And until all of humanity, without exception, undergoes a metamorphosis, wars will continue to be waged. And everything that has been carefully built up, cultivated, and grown will be cut down and destroyed, only to start all over again. I've often been down in the dumps, but never desperate. I look upon our life in hiding as an interesting adventure, full of danger and romance, and every uh, privation has as an amusing addition to my diary. I made up my mind to lead a different life from other girls and not to become an ordinary housewife later on. What I'm experiencing here is a good beginning to an interesting life, and that's the reason, the only reason, why I have to laugh at the humorous side of most of the most dangerous moments. I'm young and I have many hidden qualities. I'm young and strong and living through a big adventure. I'm right in the middle of it and can't spend all day complaining because it's impossible to have any fun. I'm blessed with many things: happiness, a cheerful disposition, and strength. Every day I feel myself maturing. I feel liberation drawing near. I feel the beauty of nature and the goodness of the people around me. Every day I think what a fascinating and amusing adventure this is. With all that, why should I despair? Yours, Anne M. Frank. Friday, May the 5th, 1944. Dear Kitty, Father's unhappy with me. After our talk on Sunday, he thought I'd stop going upstairs every evening. He won't have any of that nutshire going on. I can't stand that word. Talking about it was bad enough. Why does he have to make me feel bad too? I'll have a word with him today. Margot gave me some good advice. Here's more or less what I'd like to say. I think you expect an explanation from me, Father, so I'll give you one. You're disappointed in me. You expected more restraint from me. You no doubt want me to act the way a 14-year-old is supposed to. But that's where you're wrong. Since we've been here from July of 1942 until a few weeks ago, I haven't had an easy time. If only you knew how much I used to cry at night, how unhappy and despondent I was, how lonely I felt, you'd understand my wanting to go upstairs. I've now reached the point where I don't need the support of Mother or anyone else. It didn't happen overnight. I've struggled long and hard and shed many tears to become as independent as I am now. You can laugh and refuse to believe me, but I don't care. I know I'm an independent person and I don't feel I need to account to you for my actions. I'm only telling you this because I don't want you to think I'm doing things behind your back. But there's only one person I'm accountable to, and that's me. When I was having problems, everyone, and that includes you, closed their eyes and ears and didn't help me. On the contrary, all I ever got were admonitions not to be so noisy. I was noisy only to keep myself from being miserable all the time. I was overconfident to keep from having to listen to the voice inside me. I've been putting on an act for the last year and a half, day in, day out. I've never complained or dropped my mask, nothing of the kind. And now the battle is over. I've won. I'm independent in both body and mind. I don't need a mother anymore, and I've emerged from the struggle a stronger person. Now that it's over, now that I know the battle has been won, I want to go my own way, to follow the path that seems right to me. Don't think of me as a 14-year-old, since all these troubles have made me older. I won't regret my actions. I'll behave the way I think I should. Gentle persuasion won't keep me from going upstairs. You'll either have to forbid it or trust me through thick and thin. Whatever you do, just leave me alone. Yours, Ann M. Frank. Saturday, May the 6th, 1944. Dearest Kitty, last night before dinner I tucked the letter I'd written into Father's pocket. According to Margot, we read it and was upset for the rest of he read it and was upset for the rest of the evening. I was upstairs doing the dishes. Poor Pim. I might have known what the effect of such an epistle would be. He's so sensitive. I immediately told Peter not to ask any questions or say anything more. Pim said nothing else to me about the matter. Is he going to? Everything here is more or less back to normal. We can hardly believe that John, Mr. Kugler, Mr. Kleiman tell us about the prices and the people on the outside. Half a pound of tea costs 350 guilders. Half a pound of coffee, 80 guilders. A pound of butter, 35 guilders. One egg, 1.45 guilders. People are paying 14 guilders for an ounce of Bulgarian tobacco. Everyone's trading on the black market. Every errand boy has something to offer. The delivery boy from the bakery has supplied us with darning thread. 90 cents for one measly skein. The milkman can get a hold of ration books. An undertaker delivers cheese. Break-ins, murders, and thefts are daily occurrences. Even the police and night watchmen are getting in on the act. Everyone wants to put food in their stomachs, and since salaries have been frozen, people have had to resort to swindling. The police have their hands full trying to track down the many girls of 15, 16, 17 and older who are reported missing every day. I want to try to finish my story about Ellen the fairy. Just for fun, I can give it to Father on his birthday, together with all the copyrights. See you later. Actually, that's not the right phrase. In the German program broadcast from England, they always close with Auf Wiederhören. So I guess I should say, until we write again. Yours, Ann M. Frank. Sunday morning, May the 7th, 1944. Dearest Kitty, Father and I had a long talk yesterday afternoon. I cried my eyes out and he cried too. Do you know what he said to me, Kitty? I've received many letters in my lifetime, but none as hurtful as this. You, who have had so much love from your parents. You, whose parents have always been ready to help you, who have always defended you, no matter what. You talk of not having to account to us for your actions. You feel you've been wronged and left to your own devices? No, Anne. You've done us a great injustice. Perhaps you didn't mean it that way, but that's what you wrote. No, Anne, we have done nothing to deserve such a reproach. Oh, I've failed miserably. This is the worst thing I've ever done in my entire life. I used my tears to show off, to shake myself, to make myself seem important so he'd respect me. I've certainly had to share my share of unhappiness, and everything I said about Mother is true. But to accuse Pim, who's so good and who's done everything for me. No, that was too cruel for words. It's good that somebody has finally cut me down to size. That has broken my pride because I've been far too smug. Not everything Mistress Anne does is good. Anyone who deliberately causes much pain to someone they say they love is despicable and lowest of the low. What I'm most ashamed of is the way Father has forgiven me. He said he's going to throw the letter in the stove, and he's being so nice to me now, as if he were the one who'd done something wrong. Well, Anne, you still have a lot to learn. It's time you made a beginning instead of looking down on other people and always blaming them. I've known a lot of sorrow, but who hasn't at my age? I've been putting on an act, but was hardly even aware of it. I felt lonely, but never desperate. Not like Father, who once ran into the street with a knife so he could put an end to it all. I've never gone that far. I should be deeply ashamed of myself, and I am. What's done can't be undone, but at least you can keep it from happening again. I'd like to start over, and that shouldn't be difficult. Now that I have Peter. With him supporting me, I know I can do it. I'm not alone anymore. He loves me. I love him. I have my books, my writing, and my diary. I'm not all that ugly or that stupid. I have a sunny disposition, and I want to develop a good character. Yes, Anne, you know full well that your letter was unkind and untrue, but you were actually proud of it. I'll take Father as my example once again, and I will improve myself. Yours, Anne M. Frank. Monday, May the 8th, 1944. Dearest Kitty, I told you everything. Have I told you anything about our family? I don't think I have, so let me begin. Father was born in Frankfurt am Main to very wealthy parents. Michael Frank owned a bank and became a millionaire, and Alice Stern's parents were prominent and well-to-do. Michael Frank didn't start out rich. He was a self-made man. In his youth, Father led the life of a rich man's son. Parties every week, balls, banquets, beautiful girls, waltzing, dinners, a huge house, etc. After Grandpa died, most of the money was lost, and after the Great War, the inflation there was nothing left at all. Up until the war, there were still quite a few rich relatives, so Father was extremely well bred, and he had a laugh yesterday because for the first time in his 55 years, he scraped out the frying pan at the table. Mother's family wasn't as wealthy, but still fairly well off, and we've listened open-mouthed to stories of private balls, dinners, and engagement parties with 250 guests. We're far from rich now, and I pinned all my hopes on after the war. I can assure you I'm not so set on a bourgeois life as Mother and Margot. I'd like to spend a year in Paris and London learning the languages and studying art history. Compare that with Margot, who wants to nurse newborns in Palestine. I still have visions of gorgeous dresses and fascinating people. As I've told you many times before, I want to see the world and do all kinds of exciting things, and a little money won't hurt. This morning, Miep told us about her cousin's engagement party, which she went to on Saturday. The cousin's parents are rich, and the grooms are even richer. Mia made our mouths water telling us about the food that was served. Vegetable soup with meatballs, cheese, rolls with sliced meat, hors d'oeuvres made with eggs, and roast beef, rolls with cheese, genoa, wine, and cigarettes, and you could eat as much as you wanted. Miep drank 10 schnapps and smoked 3 cigarettes. Could this be our temperance advocate? If Miep drank all those, I wonder how her spouse managed to toss down. How many her spouse managed to toss down. Everyone at the party was a little tipsy, of course. There were also 2 officers from the homicide squad who took photographs of the wedding couple. You can see we're never far from Miep's thoughts, since she promptly noted their names and addresses in case anything should happen and we needed contacts with good Dutch people. Our mouths were watering so much. We, who'd had nothing but 2 spoonfuls of hot cereal for breakfast and were absolutely famished, we, who get nothing but half-cooked spinach for the vitamins, and rotten potatoes day after day, we, who fill our empty stomachs with nothing but boiled lettuce, raw lettuce, spinach, and more spinach. Maybe we'll end up being as strong as Popeye, though up to now I've seen no sign of it. If Miep had taken us along to the party, there wouldn't have been any rolls left over for the other guests. If we'd been there, we'd have snatched up everything in sight, including the furniture. I tell you, we were practically pulling the words right out of her mouth. We were gathered around her as if she'd never in all our lives heard of delicious food or elegant people. And these are the granddaughters of the distinguished millionaire. The world is a crazy place. Yours, Ann M. Frank. We'll go ahead and end that there. Yeah. So, Anne feels regret for how she writes a letter to her father saying, look, you know, I only want to have, it's that rebellious streak in people when you're of that age. You want to separate yourself from your elders, especially parents. But often in cases like that, people don't use as much awareness as they probably should. And this was the case with Anne, and she realizes it afterwards, after her and father have a talk about this letter. Her and her father, I should say. So, yeah. And so she says, look, I know I screwed up. This was my fault. I shouldn't have said what I said. It wasn't right. So, yeah. But we end out that episode talking about a wedding party that Miep goes to, and she's describing it to the people in the annex. So yeah. It's interesting because then it's like Anne talks about how opulent and amazing it was and all the food, and it made our mouths water. And yeah, because remember, this was still going on, a wedding party, but so many people are struggling. She describes people turning to crime, or the black market, kind of as it was going on, people offering things as kind of like a little side business. So yeah, it's interesting. Oh yeah, let me do this right quick, because there was some use of German. So for my fellow non-German speakers, she talks about listening to a broadcast where she's picked up a German phrase. She goes, "See you later." Actually, that's not the right phrase. And it talks about the German broadcast from England. They always close with "Auf Wiederhören," which the book says means "until we speak again." And she also talks about her father saying she's involved in Nutscherei, which apparently means necking. But yeah, that was the extra parts there. But with that said, thank you all for watching as the camera readjusts. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I don't know why it's having such trouble readjusting. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.